I'm Tina, and I'm just going to share about my experiences since I had my session in September of 2011. So when I originally came to that weekend, I was in a really difficult place in my life, and that story is kind of shown on the video of my session. And the only reason I went to the weekend in the first place is because it had a prosperity theme, and that was my biggest problem in my life and always has been, and that's the only way I could justify being able to get the money together to go. If it hadn't been themed that, I wouldn't have been able to justify spending money or being able to get any money together. So that was a huge thing that I even was there. And so we had the session, and the thing that struck me straight away was that night I was actually staying in a hotel in the city, which had been a big decision to spend that money as well, but I wanted to do something for myself. So I'd already booked myself into the hotel, but I hadn't checked in until after the session where I was tapped on. And I walked up to the counter and I said, you know, Tina Koch, and they said, you've been upgraded to a king suite. And straight away I felt that feeling of abundance that I'd been wanting so much, and that was like immediate proof that I could feel differently. So that was a huge thing for me. And then it's been, I guess, a year and a half, or not sure. So now my life is very different. I actually re-watched the video myself last night, and as I was watching it, I wrote down the things that had changed, and the first thing that I saw was the way I looked had changed. And at that time my hair was straight, and I was addicted to straightening my hair every day, and I haven't straightened my hair in quite a few months now. So that's something that I saw had changed, and that's about me and how I see myself. The clothes that I wore have been thrown in the bin. And again, that was about how I saw myself. One interesting thing was that when you were tapping on me, you were saying double the income, if you had double the income. And what's the situation I'm in right now is that my income will double because I've decided to work from home and not at a centre where they would take half the money. So just by the fact of making that decision to work from home immediately doubles the income I get from each client. So I thought that was really interesting. What else? At that time I was in a non-relationship that I was financially dependent on, and it took some time, but I was able to, or we were able to extricate ourselves from that situation. So I've moved away from that situation now. Well, I guess one big thing that happened as well is when I was re-watching the session, I saw that I skirted an issue because you asked me, what did I want money for? And I kind of joked and said, oh, just to pay the rent. And what was behind that was that I've had a massive fear of being homeless. And after I left that relationship situation, I actually spent 3 months in Vietnam. And I'd shifted all my stuff out of my house, and I just moved it into the shed out the back of my parents' house. So I hadn't actually moved in anywhere. And someone in an email to me said, oh, are you homesick? And when I read that, I thought, how can I be homesick? I don't have a home. And in that moment, I realized I'm homeless. Like, this was my big fear. And I was in a beautiful hotel drinking cocktails every night on the beach. And I thought, this is how my biggest fear has shown up, and it looks really pretty. And in that moment I lost that fear of being homeless, and I think I lost many more fears that day, because then I just thought, if all my fears came and turned up, they might all look this pretty, so that's okay. And then after that I moved in with my parents, which was huge, because in the session, I saw that, I think you had asked me, or you had said that as a provoking thing, like you have to move back in with your parents. And I just shook my head, and at that time there was no way that could ever have happened. And everyone who knew me, all my friends, knew that I could never do that. And I have done it, and it's completely different to what I was expecting. And my relationship with my parents is completely different. And I'm there as an adult, and but it's funny because I'm getting so many of the things that I didn't get when I was a child, I'm now getting. So money has been coming to me in bigger amounts, but sort of laid out. So I'm about to start working again in 2 weeks. So now I think, I see it as like now will be the test. Like I've come so far. I've left that relationship that I felt completely trapped in. There's no way I'll be able to get out. I've come and moved in with my parents, which was a thing I thought I would never be able to do, and keep any sense of self-worth and adulthoodness. And I've been able to do that. I felt more comfortable in my work. I was able to leave where I was working, which was a great place while I was there, but I did understand that I'd outgrown the mindset, and I needed a fresh start where I could reset myself and what I was worth and how much money I should be earning and that kind of thing. And I didn't think in the previous years I would ever leave that place. You know, it was very safe in Canberra. It's like a small community. I had my clients. I had the place where I worked was across the road from where I lived. Everything was very safe, small and cocooned. But I knew it was time to play a bigger game, so I came to a bigger playing field. And even though I'm a Melbourne girl, coming back after 8 years feels like coming back to the big city, you know, and there was that fear in me, but now that I'm here I feel really confident. The training is amazing. So I've been here 7 days in a row, and a lot shifted for me. The shift started before the training because I watched the interview with you and Pam, and there was something that you said. Pam asked you something about different cultures, and you said that you said about Eastern European people always putting themselves down, and you know they're not successful, so that people don't feel bad. And it just hit me because that's my grandparents that are still around. They live in the next suburb, and that's what I grew up with. And it started shifting as soon as I heard those words. And here it triggered so much of my school issues, which is fantastic because I know from tapping before that I have an eye problem, which is only covered up by antibiotics. And normally my eye without antibiotics would be bright red. And I know that that's rage. And it goes back to my school experiences. And so I've been tapping during the week, and so much has shifted. The fact that I was able to make it through the week at all, because I've always had a massive fatigue problem. And what I realised was that when I was in primary school, to deal with the boredom, you know, with the teacher going over and over stuff, and that I would just go comatose. I would literally have to play games in my head and put myself into a daisy, sleepy haze just to deal with getting through the day. And the other night I was tapping, and I'm very visual. The image that came into my mind was I had my anchor down. I was like a ship with my anchors down because I wasn't allowed to go forward until everyone else had caught up. And the image changed when I tapped on it, that I could pull up the anchors and I was allowed to go as far and as fast as I wanted to go. And it was okay. And even the other day at lunchtime, I was just walking down the street, and for some reason I started tapping on the feeling I've always had that I can't be happy if other people aren't happy. And I tapped it out, and I felt it was okay for me to be happy regardless of whether the people around me were happy or not. And as I turned the corner to come back into the training, there was a man in a wheelchair who looked so miserable, and his friend who was pushing the wheelchair looked really, really miserable. And normally in that situation, I would have stopped smiling immediately, and I don't normally smile on the street anyway. And I didn't, I was able to keep my smile, and that was huge. So, and that's just bits and pieces I do, like during the training or during the breaks, just mental tapping as I'm walking around, or what I've done in the morning or the evening. So even just coming has been a huge healing for me. And that's only part of it, because I've been waiting this long to get that certificate, and I couldn't sleep last night because all I saw was that certificate in my hand. And when I got that certificate in my hands, I was shaking just out of excitement and adrenaline, because I know that I can use this to help my clients. Yeah. Robert is so inspirational, and he has a way about him that puts you at ease, and I think that's really important, because I think people are drawn to his charisma, but his ability to put people at ease is what keeps them around. Even at my house, my mum was watching a DVD of Robert on the television. My dad was in the next room behind the computer, and he was secretly watching it. And he tapped out some huge stuff from his childhood. Even though he doesn't believe in any self-help or therapy type stuff, he secretly worked on himself. So, and that's because he was drawn to Robert's demeanour and his ease, his blukiness. So yeah, this week's been much more than I expected or hoped for sure.